In this video, you'll learn everything there is to know about floor loads in Start Pro. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Welcome back everyone to this series on Start Pro. I'm really sorry that I have not been able to come up with videos for the past few months. I have been really busy with my other channel, which is called the Binary IQ. On this channel, I talk about the process of creation of websites, the process of creation of online courses, and so on and so forth. I've just started this channel and I have been paying a lot of attention on this one. So I'm very sorry that I have not been able to make videos on the Start Pro. Everyone who is watching this video, I would request that you do check out my other channel. I'll leave the link to this channel in the description. And I'm very hopeful that people who are really looking forward to creating their own business online will learn a lot from this channel as well. So I wanted to initially include everything which I'm talking about on this channel on the Start Pro channel as well, but later I thought that I should keep both of those separate. So this channel is all about the overall digital world, and the Start Beginner channel on which you're watching this video right now is all about Start. I'm very hopeful that you'll like this channel as well. So if you do subscribe this channel too, because I'm continuously coming up with content on this. However, back to Start Beginner, this video is going to be all about floor loads. So let's go inside Start Pro. I'll be creating a new project. So this is the welcome window. I'll simply click on new project. I'll give this the name of floor loads. I'll just copy this name, and as I showed you the trick, that I'll just change the file name at the end to floor loads. So this will create a folder inside my documents inside Start. So this helps organize things, and I have talked about all these. You can check out my previous videos. I'll leave the link to the entire playlist in the description. You can follow your way along. I'll leave these all options be unchecked because it by default creates a space frame. In the length units and force units, I'll leave it to be meter and kilonewton. I'll just click on next. It says the specified part does not exist. Do you want to create it? Yes, I do want to create a new folder. So I'll click on yes. And I'll let the setting be add beam, and I'll click on finish. So this is the brand new file. In this video, I'll be showing you the ins and outs of floor loads. I've talked about the other basic loads in my previous video. You can check that out as well. In order to show the features of floor loads, I'll have to create a frame structure. And in order to do that, I'll quickly go to where it says geometry, scroll down to where it says run structure wizard. Inside structure wizard, in the model type, I'll select frame models. And in the frame models, I'll just double click on bay frame. Once I double click, I get this parameters option, which I can change. Now in the length, I'll leave this length to be same. However, the number of bays I'll change from 4 to 3. I'm just trying to simplify the structure, which you'll be able to see in a few minutes. So just follow along with me. I'll change these settings a little bit so that whatever I'm going to teach would make sense. So 345 is good enough. In the height, I'll reduce the height to 6 meters. And the number of bays to 2. So this will give me a 3 meter length. In the width, again, I'll leave it as similar to the length. So again, 3 bays, and I'll change the bay length to 3, 4, and 5. And I'll just click on apply. So we have our frame ready. And as you can see, these members are slightly shorter and these are longer ones. This will help make me my point. In order to transfer this model, you can simply click on where it says transfer model. I'll just click on it. It is asking me, would you like to transfer? Of course, that's why I click that button. So I'll just click on yes. Now this is asking me to transfer that model on or starting at the origin, which is XYZ equals 0. So I'll just click on OK. So I have my model placed. I'll just get rid of the snap node beam because I don't need it right now. So just remember, this was our origin. Now, if you want to see where your origin is, simply go to the snap node beam, which you can simply go from here. So click on snap node beam. So as you can see, this is the 0. However, if you want to see another grid, you can simply click on create. And this time you can simply click on XZ, and I'll just give it a name, XZ. Click on OK. And if I select this one, you'll see the XZ model I. So this is at the 0, 0. And this is what I just wanted to clarify. Now, in order to make my point even more, I'll just display the node distance for a minute. So as you saw, this height is 3 and 3. However, the bay lengths are different here. So this is 4 This is 3, this is 4, and this is 5. Similarly, this is 3, this is 4, and this one is 5. So with that out of the way, let's quickly give it some properties. So in order to go to properties, I talked about following the path from top to down and top to down. So we are right now in geometry because we did not do anything with the setup. You can, of course, if you're creating a project for a client, you can do all this. However, in my case, we simply went into geometry. We have created a geometry. Let's go into general. We'll go inside property and let's create a default property. So I'll click on define, go to rectangle and give it some rectangle sizes. So I'll give it 0.3 and 0.45. Just click on add. I'll leave the material to be concrete. So do not worry about all this. I'm walking through quickly because these are not important. The most important thing is coming up. So with this selected, I'll click on assign to view and click on assign. This will give me a warning that you want the assignment method which I've chosen is for assigning to the entire view. And yes, that is what I wanted. So as you can see in a few clicks, everything is assigned. Now, if you want to see if it has actually been assigned, you can simply click where it says 3D rendered view, or you can simply right click and select 3D rendering. And you can see all the columns have been assigned a property. So that is good enough. Now let's move down. We are not interested in specifications right now. We'll, however, go to support and we'll create a support. Simply create and we'll be creating a fixed support. So I've talked about supports in my other videos. You can check that out as well. So I'll quickly create a support. I'll select the support, go to the front view, or rather the view from the positive Z direction. Select all these nodes. As soon as I select all these nodes, the assignment method on the right changes to assign to selected nodes. And yes, that is what I need. So I can go back to the isometric view and you can see all the nodes down have been selected. So I'll just click on assign and I'll click on yes. So in a few minutes, we have our structure ready. Now let's move on to the actual purpose why we are here. In order to do that, we'll go to load definitions. Now in my previous video, we talked about how to create loads or simple load cases. In order to do that, we will go to load case details. We'll click on add. We'll give the title. So in this case, let's create a dead load. It doesn't really matter because the load type is not actually that important right now. I'll just select dead. I'll click on add. So we have created a category of loads, which is called the dead loads. And now inside this dead load, I'll be adding the floor loads. So I'll just click on add. This will open the load items. So we have already talked about self-aid. We have talked about nodal load and we have talked about member load. Right now I'm leaving the physical member load and area load and jumping right into floor loads because that is going to be the most important thing for you. However, in our future videos, we'll talk about these as well. So let's click on floor load. So as soon as you click floor load, you see a huge range of settings. Now do not feel daunted because these settings are actually very simple. I'll take you through all the settings. First of all, remember this X range, Z range and Y range. Now by default, it is selected to Y range and this will work in most of the cases. So right now we are leaving this section unchecked because I'll show you how to use it anyways. The next option is the load. Now this load works in a similar way. So the negative direction would define a downward direction in Y, a positive direction would define an upward direction. So it works similar to how it worked in the usual load cases. So before we move on to creating the pressures or creating the load values, I'll quickly walk you through the Indian standard codes as to where you find all these values, where you find the floor loads. So in case of floor loads, there will be two things which you have to consider. The first would be the dead load on the floors and second is the live loads. And for that, we'll be using two different codes. So I'll take you through the codes quickly. This is the IS 875 part 1. This is all about dead loads. And from here, you'll actually assess the load on the floor because in our case, we are not actually creating the plates to represent slabs. Thereby, those self loads or those self weights of the slab which would have existed need to be transported indirectly into StatPro. And that's why we are creating these floor loads. And you can understand it by the fact that, for example, when we have beams and columns as frame, we just do a self weight and that takes the weight of those members. Since we do not have a plate here or any other member here to depict or to represent slabs, therefore we have to put the values of floor indirectly. So the first option of dead loads all you have to do is understand how much dead load is going to come on the floors. And for that, this code gives you the unit weights of the various building materials. And you can use this code simply. So if I take you through the unit weight tables, you can find the unit weight of building materials. So whatever building material is being utilized to create those slabs, we can use it. I'll take you through a simple example. I've created a simple Excel file. Now don't quote me on all these values. I've just taken an approximation. For example, if we had a slab of 150 mm thickness and we consider the unit weight of RCC as 25, we can simply get the dead load of the slab as 25 into 150 divided by 1000. So we get 3.75 kilonewton per meter square. Now this is very simple. Now we can use additional values of ceiling plaster, which would come approximately around 0.25 kilonewton per meter square, and the tile weight if you have tiles placed, and the screeding on which you have placed the tiles. So considering all these values, we get a simple dead load value of 4.5. So this is just an example. Your case would depend upon the type of building you're constructing. So for example, if you have wooden flooring instead of tile flooring, the things would differ. If you have some other kind of flooring, it would differ again. So this is just an example. So in our case, we are just going to be simply using this value of 4.5 as the dead load. Now these values we get from IS 875 part 1, and the codes would be similar in other countries as well. So if you're watching this from another country, you can go through your codal provisions and find the values from there. So we have the weights of boards, of insulating fibers, and so on and so forth. You have the load of bricks, you have the load of cement concrete pre-stressed and post-stressed and reinforced, and so on and so forth. So you can use all these values depending upon your case scenario. Similarly, we have the IS 875 part 2, which gives the value of imposed loads. And this you can use to find what live loads you need to put in on your structure. So these are differentiated into different kinds of buildings like residential buildings and so on. So you can find, for example, in dwelling houses, in all the rooms, we'll be taking the value of 2 kilonewton per meter. However, when we move to hotels and hostels, etc., in the dining areas, we'll be taking a live load of 4. In the storerooms, we'll be taking a load of 5. And this will depend upon which kind of rooms you are building. So you can take the values accordingly. Now I'm just showing this to you so that when we go back to our STAAD, I'll just simply save it and close it. In our case, we are just creating a dead load. You can do this same thing. Go back to load cases, click on add, and this case will create a live load, and the loading type we can simply click on live. So now we can define the dead loads as well and the live loads as well, depending upon the different criteria. Dead load would be defined upon the material which you have utilized to build the slabs or the floors, and live load would depend upon the type of building you are using. So let's start off with creating any of the loads because the process is similar. However, theoretically or in concept, the principles are different because dead load defines something else and live load defines something else. But in terms of STAAD.Pro, both are similar. So let's create a dead load. Again, I'll go back to dead load and click on add. This opens all the load items available. Now we are interested in floor load. So I'll go back to floor loads. Now let's talk about the pressure. So we have created a pressure, or we know what pressure to put in. So I'll just put in a negative 4.5. And now if I just simply click on add and close and click on this, you see cannot generate load for command because we have not put in anything here. So I'll just double click on it. So you can double click on any of the loads and you'll get all those same options which you get from going inside the loads. So let's talk about it. Let's first of all leave this X range, Y range and group, etc. Now we have put in the first value. The direction of the load, we'll always want it to be a global Y because this is the Y direction. If you zoom in onto the left side, you'll see this is the Y direction. So we want our load to be always in the negative Y direction, or rather in the Y direction with a negative sign on the load. This will define that it is going in the angle of gravity or parallel to gravity. Down at the bottom, we have the option of one-way distribution as well. In my experience, there will be hardly any cases in which you'll be designing a one-way distribution. And even if you do, it's better to go for a two-way distribution because that is a more realistic way of dealing with floor loads. So in our case, we'll always let it be unchecked. Now let's move on to the range. Now this is where all the magic happens. For example, I want to define this floor load only on the roof of this building. So the roof of this building, if you see the Y values, so these are the different ranges, the Y range, the X range and the Z range. So first of all, we'll start off with the Y range. So in this case, you can see the Y value being for the top being 3 plus 3, 6. So what I can do is simply put in a value of 6 and 6 here. and that would work well. So let me put it 6 and 6, and I'll just click on change. And now you magically see all the loads showing up here. However, in my practice, what I like doing is whatever value we have, I just put in 1 point less. For example, I put in a 5.9 here and a 6.1. Now, although it doesn't make any sense, but this gives me an idea that I'm talking about this slab in general. So this is the practice I have employed. You can, of course, go for a 6 and 6. So in our case, we'll be just using the normal convention and not my special conventions. So just like that, you can see, you can define the Y range and you can get the floor loads on everything. Now, what if I wanted the floor load only on these 6 panels? So we do not want it on the rightmost panel. And in that case, what we'll be dealing with is the X direction. So this is the X direction, and this is what we'll be dealing with. So instead of going from 0 to all the way, so if I have not defined anything, this defines it to all the way. So in this case, I'll be defining the X range from 0 to 3 plus 4, which is 7. So I'll put in a 7. And if I change it now, you'll see that these last 3 columns would disappear. So now you can see my range is only defined to this X values. That is from 0 to a value of 7. Now, if I wanted to have it only on this last portion, what I could do is define the Z range too. So again, this is the origin, if you remember, and this value is 3 meters, as you can see. So again, if I define the Z range as 0 to 3 and I click on change, you can see only this happen. So this is how you will work on the various floors or the various room levels. So the rooms will differ. The corridors will have a different loading value. The normal dining rooms would have different values, and so on and so forth. And you will work with the X, Y, and Z range in a similar way. So let's take in one more option. For example, I just want the last panel to have the load. So in this case, I know the Y value is the top. So this is 6 and 6. This is correct. However, the X range you'll see is starting from 4 plus 3, 7, and it is going to 12. So the starting range is 7 and it goes to 12. So once I click on change, you'll see something change. Now the Z value, if I want it to be moved here, will be starting from 7, that is 3 plus 4, and will be ending till 12. So again, I'll put in a 7 and a 12. And if I click on change, you see the value placed here. And this is how simple it is. So I'll just close it and get out of it. So this is one of the simplest ways of using floor loads. However, there is one more trick I want to teach you that will rather make your life very easy. So assume that these 2 panels are our toilet areas and may have a different dead load value. So what we have to do is, first of all, select these 2 panels. And in order to do that, let's look at from the X side. So I'll select from the X side and I'll select these beams. Now this selects, of course, everything. Let's go to view and click on view selected objects only. So now we are working with these selected objects only. Let's go to the top view again and let's select only these members. And I'll go to view again and view selected members only. So now we are just working with these. So we'll select all these, go to tools and go to where it says create a new group. I'll simply click on create a new group. So let's give this group a name. I'll call it toilet at first floor. So toilet underscore FF. Now there cannot be any gaps or spaces rather. In the select type, always select floor, because we are going to work with floor loads. So I'll just click on OK. And now you can see we have this toilet group created. Now we want to associate it with the selected geometry. And right now we have the selected geometry. If we didn't, we would not have got that option. So what we'll do is select whatever I want to create the group of, and I'll associate it to the selected geometry. Once I click on associate, you'll see that the list of nodes is available here. Let's get rid of it. Now, if I click on dead load again, click on add new, go to floor loads again. Let's create another one with say 5 kilonewton per meter square. And this time, instead of choosing the XYZ range, I'll simply click on group. As soon as I click on group, you'll see all the groups which I have created using the method I just showed you available here. We just created the toilet first floor group. So I'll just select that and I'll click on add. I'll click on close. Now, if I go back to my view and select the whole structure or view the whole structure, the initial load is available here. However, the toilet load, as you can see, is available on the group which we created. So I hope you learned something from this. This is the simplest step which I use of creating floor loads. Now this same step will work in the live load as well. These methods are similar, although the calculation of the loads differs a lot. You'll have to use whatever codal provisions are available in your country for different kinds of rooms, different kinds of areas, and you'll use those values. However, the placement of those values would remain the same. Thank you for watching. And again, before going, if you're not already subscribed, subscribe to this channel as well as go to my other channel and check that out. Seeing the response which I get on my videos, I'm very hopeful and I'm very sure that you people will learn a lot more from my other channel as well, where I talk about technology. So this is a kind of marketing I'm doing on this channel, and I'm very hopeful that some of you will help me out on my journey. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.